10 years ago, gates were opened all over the world, from which monsters began to appear, and people became awakened. They became hunters of those monsters from the gates. A huge crystal flew into the face of a boy named Kang Jihyun. Falling to the floor, he was in agony. In fact, he is an awakened C rank, but still endures bullying from his classmates. The ability that he got is called an exoskeleton. He can cover his entire body with it, but the problem is that this is accompanied by just hellish pain. But even worse is the fact that the exoskeleton disappears over time, leaving disgusting scars on Jihyun's body. Fucking bastards attack the boy every day and laugh to their heart's content. And the police or the teacher can do nothing or object to the awakened C rank who receives special treatment from the government. Jihyun continues to endure bullying for the sake of his mother, who works several jobs to provide for her son. Jihyun's father died when he was 5 years old, so he is obliged to finish school and become a full-fledged hunter in order to financially support his mother. Although his income will be small, they will at least be able to move to a larger apartment. After some time, Jihyun looks at his mother in horror. The woman, with an empty look, bandaged, lay connected to a life support machine. She was no longer human. It was a simple shell that was devoid of consciousness. The agent who stood behind the boy said that it was an accident. Those same 3 bastards from Jihyun's school entered the cafe where his mother worked. The main asshole immediately began to show off his abilities in front of the girl. Saying that she had a lot of work, she walked away, but accidentally touched the phone, fell from the table, and broke. She quickly picked it up, and the next second, many diamond needles pierced the girl. According to the agent, the abilities of the young C-rank hunter got out of control. Having found out who exactly did this, Jihyun realized that it was not an accident. From despair and bitterness, he fell into madness and began to tear his skin, cursing these assholes. After some time, 2 teenagers are sitting near the gate waiting for their friend to return. They were discussing the incident with the girl in the cafe. One was clearly worried that the girl could die, but the white-haired one reassured his sucker that they were awakened, and this was not the first time he had beaten someone to the point of being a vegetable. At this point, the guy we already knew appeared in the clearing near the gate. He walked towards them, repeating the same phrase, "Why did you do this?" The pain and resentment that was inside burst out with the words, "Why did you do this to my mother?" Having recognized his punching toy, the white-haired bastard smiled. He said that he did not know that the hot girl was his mother, because she looked very young. The next moment, a diamond spear pierced the boy's body. The white-haired one said that he almost managed to pick up this beauty. The words he heard gave Jihyun strength. He took the spear with his hand and pulled it out of his chest. An exoskeleton was already visible at the site of the wound, causing incredible pain to the owner of the ability. The clearly impressed leader of the hooligans created another 24 diamond mines in the air, after which he plunged them into Jihyun's body. "Who do you think you are? You're just dirt and a loser," said the white-haired man. These words fueled Jihyun's rage. All cut up and pierced by spears, suffering from unbearable pain, he slowly approached the offender. Asshole turned to his friend, offering him to show his lightning. He did not have to persuade him for long. A huge pillar of electricity hit the already wounded guy. The clothes were burned from such a discharge of electricity, exposing the wounded body of the boy. Motherfuckers looked down on Jihyun. When they decided that he was finished, they began to leave. Wounded and beaten, Jihyun was not going to give up, so he grabbed the blonde by the leg, asking where they were going. Snow White got very angry. He hit the annoying fly on the head with his diamond fist with all his might. He dealt blow after blow, calling Jihyun shit. Inserting his fist into his classmate's mouth, he began to slowly press it in, breaking his jaw and teeth. I'm sure Snow White is a real sadist. While he was enjoying mocking Jihyun, the gate turned red. The idiot friends noticed that they needed to inform the government that a bloody gate had appeared. But the white-haired freak had something in mind. He told his girlfriends that he was going to send this piece of shit there. After which, he activated his ability. A huge diamond lump appeared from the ground, piercing Jihyun's body, sending him into the bloody gate. Anger, rage, and despair were on Jihyun's face as he flew. He screamed that he would kill everyone, he would destroy them, grind them into dust. This only amused the white-haired asshole. "Try if you can," he said before the gate completely closed. After flying a few meters, the guy's body hit the ground, breaking at least several bones. The blood gate is a phenomenon in which the gate turns red and crimson. Monsters do not come out of these gates, so nothing more is known about them. The reason is that no one who entered there got out alive. Many different monsters surrounded the body of the broken Jihyun. Blows, cuts, ragged bites. They devoured him like a pack of hungry hyenas, continuing to do this even after only a skeleton remained of him. Recently, a new study was made due to the unknown mana in the blood gate. People who got there began their transformation. You ask into whom? They turned into monsters, into the fiend of the blood gate. Jihyun's metamorphosis has already begun. Thanks to his ability, he quickly began to regenerate. He changed completely, even his consciousness. But still, two things could not allow him to lose his mind. These are memories of the abuse of those freaks who beat his mother to a vegetable state. Vile faces did not allow Jihyun to forget who he was, even for a second. His agony lasted like an eternity, suffering from hellish pain and devouring memories. His anger knew no bounds, and seeing the face of that bastard before his eyes, he slammed his turned hand into the ground with all his might. Even the monsters were shocked by this. They turned to him again to devour the unfinished dinner. But the turned Jihyun clearly had other plans for this. A crowd of ugly monsters rushed towards him, but were immediately cut into pieces. Now they were locked in the gate with him, not him. Rage and revenge kept him conscious. 5 years later, we are shown a live broadcast where the host asks questions to the already familiar pieces of shit, who during this time have managed to become high-class hunters. The host did not miss the opportunity to shit on Snow White with a tricky question, asking about the incident that happened 5 years ago. The white-haired guy obviously went to theater classes because he immediately squeezed out a few tears. Admitting that it happened by accident with the mother of his close friend, he apologized to him, but he disappeared somewhere. At that very moment, the broken door was already flying at the head of the white-haired bastard. Using his ability, he kicked the door away, clearly annoyed that the interview was interrupted. People saw the monster and immediately began to run in different directions. Each of his steps made cracks in the floor. Seeing 3 guys, the monster made a lightning jump, reducing the distance so quickly that his fist crashed into Snow White's face with great force, causing him to fly several meters away. Minute, hour, day, all the monster did was cut the monsters in its path, seeing the exit ahead. The body flew between 2 Snow White suckers, clearly surprising those. In front of them stood a real Terminator, whose body was covered with a bone exoskeleton like armor like Tony Stark's. A memory flashed through the head of this monster, after which he said, "I got out, bastards." The white-haired hunter had already gotten to his feet, ordering his friend to kill the monster. Thousands of lightning struck Jihyun's body, but he stood motionless as if he didn't feel anything. As soon as the ability stopped, he made a quick lunge and chopped off the annoying hunter's head, a bone growth on his hand. Shocked, they watched as their friend's severed head fell to the floor. The monster stood there without a single scratch. Then the guy who was always chewing gum decided to crush the monster with his ability by creating a stone egg. But this didn't work either. The next second, the monster was already holding the guy by the lower jaw, after which he tore it off. Falling, he grabbed the scraps of the lower part of his face, but the monster did not lose his breath and delivered the finishing blow. Taking advantage of the moment, the white-haired one struck the monster in the back of the head. But unexpectedly, the diamond armor with which he covered his hand began to crack. Then he created thousands of diamond copies and sent them at the monster. The white-haired hunter looked at the motionless monster, clearly pleased with himself. But suddenly, he began to slowly rise. The hunter clearly did not expect that someone would be able to survive this attack. In front of him stood a true embodiment of a demon. Enveloped in diamond armor, the white-haired one was going to finish what he started, inflicting many strong blows. Each blow was like a blow from a huge sledgehammer. But suddenly, the monster was able to block the last blow, grabbing his opponent's fist with his teeth. He clenched his fist with terrifying force, which caused many cracks to appear on the armor. The hunter's face was covered with a grimace of pain. Continuing to squeeze his hand with his teeth, the monster pierced the white-haired man's body with his bone growth. Horrible pain pierced the S-rank hunter, but he still found the strength to activate another of his abilities. A huge diamond needle made a hole in the monster's body, lifting him high above the ground, after which he tried to escape. Not having time to run to the exit, the diamond spear that he had previously created pierced his chest. The monster that had thrown the spear was already approaching him, and the recently damaged body had already been completely restored. Along the way, he collected several more diamond spears. No longer so menacing and arrogant, the hunter begged the monster to leave. He tried to crawl to the exit, but many needles pierced his body. The badly wounded but still alive hunter asked why they were doing this to him and who he was, after which the monster tore off part of his exoskeleton, exposing his face to the enemy. Seeing the face, the white-haired bastard remembered how he mocked the poor boy who could not give him back. Now, he realized that he was doomed to die. Blow after blow, the one who had previously been just a punching bag drove the white-haired man's head into the floor, causing fatal damage. After which, he drove the bone blade with all his might into the mouth of the S-rank hunter, piercing his head. Having finished the execution, the monster, who was once a guy named Jihyun, was able to carry out his revenge. The memory of his mother, whom he visited before he came here, surfaced in his head. A group of hunters were killing monsters in a normal gait. 4 hunters were praising their healer. She thanked them because it was her first time getting so far. But in an instant, their facial expressions changed. They offered to pay her with their bodies if she was so grateful to them. The head of one of the hunters rolled on the ground, showing us a familiar monster. The remaining 3 decided to attack together to quickly deal with him. But their magic does not work at all, breaking against the monster's durable exoskeleton. A man in a straw hat decides to go into close combat, but his katana simply breaks against the shell that the monster is covered with. This was a fatal mistake, because the next moment another head fell to the floor. While the shocked hunters were trying to understand where such a strong monster came from, their heads also flew off their shoulders. The girl, trembling with fear, watched the monster approaching her. Seeing that there was a human face under the mask, she decided to thank her savior, but then she fell silent. Forever. Sitting on his knees, Jihyun simply looked through the hole in the ceiling, drops falling on his body, which looked more like a bone shell. Suddenly, someone called him by name. It was a girl named Lumin, the head of the Korean Hunters Association. Surprised that she knew him, he decided to destroy her. Preparing to deliver a fatal blow, Jihyun heard, "Your mother can be brought back to life." The fist stopped in front of Lumin's face, who did not even move. Jihyun asked what she was talking about. It turns out that she is not only the head of the Korean Association, but also the only S-rank healer in the world, and only she can completely cure her. He can't just believe her words, which he told her. But Lumin asked if he thinks that his mother lasted these 5 years while he was gone, only because of the hospital. Jihyun asked the girl what exactly she wanted from him. The problem is that the hunters are too strong, and the weapons of humanity have lost their meaning compared to the hunters. After all, there are those who are stronger than even nuclear weapons. Of course, thanks to them, most of the monsters in the gates are destroyed. But the gates do not disappear. But on the contrary, they only grow, and some of them connect with each other, forming a passage that ignores the borders of countries. The balance of forces is broken, and it is a matter of time before other countries want to capture Korea using hunters. That is why Japan gradually began to send its hunters here. Korea could not answer them with the help of hunters because it would attract the attention of larger countries, but that was before you appeared. Become a monster for us, and I will return your mother to you. Headquarters of the Japanese Hunters Association. The Japanese defense minister asks his subordinate why they can't contact the hunters who went to Korea. Japan's #1 S-rank, Ikosai Kageru, assured the minister that he would personally find out what was going on. After the meeting, the secretary asked Kageru if he really was going alone, since all the hunters they sent were elite. Turning to her, he coldly said that he didn't need an escort. After passing through the gate, Kageru kept muttering to himself that everyone who disappeared here were useless pieces of shit. They couldn't have died from monsters like that. But suddenly he saw a mountain of corpses with an unknown monster that looked like a human sitting on it. What he saw made the Japanese hunter very angry, so he immediately attacked it. Kageru was surprised that the monster blocked his attack, but it didn't matter since he was #1 in Japan. Taking a stance, he began a series of attacks. First moon, powerful energy blades hit the monster. Second moon cross attack slammed Jihyun's body into the wall. The exoskeleton withstood the previous 2 strikes, so the hunter activated the third moon, intending to cut off the monster's head, but it lunged and counterattacked. Reacting with lightning speed, Kageru cut off Jihyun's hand, after which he immediately struck again with his sword, cutting off the monster's head. Kageru can't understand how they could lose to something like that. At this time, memories began to flash in the severed head. The man waved to the woman and child who were standing on the other side of the road. The child happily ran to his father, right under the wheels of a truck that was moving at high speed. The father reacted quickly and pushed his son out from under the wheels of the truck, but he himself was unable to avoid the collision. From that moment on, their life went downhill. The mother had to work hard to somehow feed the family, and every night she cried into her pillow. The boy understood that he was to blame for the fact that his father died, to blame for the fact that his mother cried every night. Therefore, he had no right to life, but fate decided otherwise. When the mother entered the room, she saw her son with a cut on his arm, but it immediately healed. He is awakened, so he will become a hunter and make her happy. Consciousness returned to Jihyun. He remembered his deal. He will do everything necessary so that his mother can be healthy again. So he will destroy the first hunter of Japan. Kageru, clearly unaware of what was happening behind him, carelessly sheathed his katana as Jihyun's head crawled towards his leg and bit down hard as if it was a bear trap. Shocked, Kageru couldn't understand how the monster could regenerate if he had cut off its head while leg had almost been bitten in half. By slashing at the monster with his katana, he was able to free his leg and activated his strongest ability. 12th Moon. He moved so fast that he left after images in the air, cutting every inch of the monster into pieces. The impact was so strong that parts of Jihyun's body were thrown out of the gate. Confident that this had definitely finished off the monster, Kageru decided to go back to report what had happened. Suddenly, a huge sharp bone was embedded in the hunter's other leg. Seeing the monster regenerate again, he lost his composure and dealt another blow. 3 days later, the Japanese defense minister and the country's elite hunters stood at the gate. They were all gathered there because Ikusai Kageru had disappeared 3 days ago and had not been in contact since. Therefore, they had to figure out what happened. Just as they were about to enter the portal, a severed head flew out of the gate. And then the one who threw it appeared. The minister began to scream in horror, but the monster immediately slashed his neck with his bone sword. But then he received a crushing blow that created a real crater in the ground. At this time, Luming wondered if Jihyun would be able to destroy him. Japan's number 0 and rank hunter.